Hey friends, how are you today? This is Jenna from Musings from the Middle School, and I am here today with my second episode of Dear White Teacher, which is just my attempt to try to talk to a lot of you, my fellow white teachers who are struggling to understand, who want to be doing the best job they can, who really want to be that model for anti-racism that we all hope to be in our classrooms. A lot of you wrote to me about the first video, and I'm really glad that my story resonated with some of you, that you sort of were the same way, like as ashamed as we are to admit it. You know, there have been times in our lives where we thought things like, I don't see color, I'm colorblind. And, you know, it can be really difficult and shameful to admit that that's who we are, or was once who we are. So again, I just want to start today's video by letting you know that by no means am I an expert in this. I am absolutely not. I am on this journey with you. I am learning every day. I am constantly trying to listen to voices of color who are out there doing the work, who are out there showing us the way. And I am learning too. I just was, hoping I could put these videos together as just a way of reaching out to my audience, a lot of you who, happen to look like me and are, maybe just needing a little push or a little bit more encouragement to really sort of get started on this journey, or, support. So, I have notes that I'm going to be reading from today, mostly just because, the last video I was just sharing my story with you. So obviously I know my own story really well. It was easy for me to just kind of like, ad lib. But this one, I really wanted to make sure I hit on some, there's just some points that I really want to make sure that I'm making when I make this video. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So today I want to talk to you about the term white privilege. This term, I have come to realize, more than anything, makes people really upset. I have definitely caused conflict in my life, in my family, with my friends, because of the term white privilege. It makes people upset. As white people, we don't like hearing the term white. It makes us very uncomfortable to be defined by our race. And if that's true for you, if that resonates for you, I want you to consider for a minute how often we define Black people by their race. And think about that. If it makes you uncomfortable, think about all the times other people have to see it. How do you think they're feeling about that? Secondly, I found we really don't like the word privilege because it makes it sound like we've never struggled before. Like we don't work hard. Like that the things we have in our life, we don't really deserve, that they were somehow gifted to us. The thing is though, even if the term makes you uncomfortable, in order to really do anti-racist work, I believe that you have to get comfortable with the term. To understand racism, you have to be comfortable with the term, and you have to recognize your relationship with the term. So the thing is, white privilege does not mean that your life hasn't been hard. It doesn't mean that you haven't experienced hardship. It doesn't mean that you've never been poor. It doesn't mean that you didn't grow up in foster care. It doesn't mean that you don't have a disability. It doesn't mean that, your mom didn't get cancer when you were 10 and died, and, your whole life from there sort of fell apart. White privilege does not mean that you have not experienced struggle. It doesn't. It does not mean that you are not a hard worker. It does not mean that you did not, bust your butt and, work 3 jobs to get yourself through college. It doesn't mean that you have not struggled and that you are not a hard worker. All of those things can be true, and you can still have white privilege. In a nutshell, and I'm really gonna just it's so much more complicated than this, and I'm going to put more things for you to read underneath, because again, I'm not an expert, and I'm just trying to, start some conversations for some of you who, are wanting to do more, but maybe are a little reluctant or a little bit nervous. In its simplest form, white privilege means that your life, regardless of how hard it was, your life has not been made any more difficult or any more complicated because of the color of your skin. It means that society has this like built-in advantage for you if you are born white. And it is in no way related to your income, your education, your hardships, or your work ethic. It's not related to that. It's just this built-in advantage that you have simply because you were born white. So what does that advantage look like? Well, it means that your needs are often met. You can find flesh color Bandaids in the drugstore, and that flesh color matches yours. If you wear foundation or you wear stockings, like nylon stockings, you can find colors that match your complexion. It means that grocery stores usually carry foods that are representative of your culture's customs and traditions. It means that you don't need to shop in the ethnic section of a store to find what you need, whether it be food, whether it be hair care, skin care. So your needs are met everywhere you go. It's assumed that you are the default. You can find what you need. Your needs are going to be met. What else does that advantage look like? It means that your race is mirrored to you in a variety of ways. You can see yourself in lots and lots and lots of different ways. There is a way more than a single story or narrative that you are going to see. It means that, when you look at a magazine, you're going to find models that look like you. There's an abundance of actors that look like you. It means that the portrayal of people of your color are portrayed in lots and lots of different ways. News, TV, movies, you see yourself reflected. It means that the stories and books and poetry that we teach in schools reflect your people that look like you. They reflect your communities. You are able to find your race mirrored back to you in so many different ways. The other built-in advantage is that it means you have more access to resources. Your family didn't experience segregation. And even though we have desegregated, the effects of segregation have stayed with us for a very long time. Your family was never a victim of racist zoning practices like redlining that prevented you from living in nicer areas that had higher property values and therefore better schools. Better funded schools and access to education is dependent on where you live. And if your family experienced, something like redlining, even if it was a few generations ago, you are likely still feeling the effects of that on your family today. So the thing about these advantages is that some of them might seem small. Like you might think like, okay, so a Band-Aid, but really a Band-Aid is because a Band-Aid is flesh color and that matches a white flesh color closer than a black flesh color. Like, is that really, do we really have to be talking about white privilege there? But the thing is, even though some of them might seem small, the legacy that they leave is huge. It's absolutely humongous. I mean, you can't even begin to start to imagine it all. Because what happens is all those things create this idea that there is a normal way. And that normal way is the white way. And any other way is considered the other way. It's this kind of othering that we do. And it gives folks the idea that one is more worthy than the other. And that is where the problem lies. I mean, that's when we start to understand what systemic racism looks like. When one way is portrayed as normal and then we have the other, what happens is it translates into white people being more humanized. And because of that, they get to avoid the pitfalls that stereotyping and racial profiling create for Black people. And the thing is, Black people didn't do anything to cause this to happen. It happens simply because of the color of their skin. And it's the same way that white people didn't do anything to be viewed more worthy. It just happens because it's everywhere. And most white people never think about it because it doesn't affect them. And so it just continues. White folks have the privilege of benefiting from this system simply by being born a certain color. So if you want to be actively anti-racist, if you want to be working every day to show your students, to model for your kids anti-racism, you have to get comfortable with the term white privilege. You have to start to accept that you didn't cause it. Just because you haven't doesn't mean that you are by default a racist, but you have to recognize that it exists and you benefit from it. And then what you need to do is you have to start using your privilege to break down our racist systems. You use your privilege by amplifying voices of color, by promoting voices of color, by passing the mic and letting people talk, by learning from them, by speaking up when you can, by, using your voice to cultivate change, to, make things different. You don't want to sit and feel guilty or ashamed that you benefit from it. There's no sense in doing that. That's not helpful. Instead, you want to start using your privilege for good. And I think as teachers, this is definitely a role that we need to take on. Because like I told you before, if 79% of us are white in our schools, our voices really need to be the ones to start dismantling this and taking this apart. We are the majority by far. So it's up to us to really get in there and start doing the work. Start doing what we can to be anti-racist and, break the system apart. So I hope you stuck with me to the end of this. I'm hoping that if you were one of those people that would hear the term white privilege and sort of bristle because it would make you uncomfortable, it would make you feel bad. I'm hoping that this took some of that away for you. I hope that, you're seeing that it's not something that you have to feel guilty about. It's not something that you have to be ashamed of. It's something that you have to use to really sort of promote change. I guess that's all I got really for today. White privilege is I know that this is a tough one. People don't like that term at all, but it is what it is, and we have to get comfortable with it. So I'm hoping this video helped you get a little bit more comfortable today. All right. I'll be back. Like I said, I have at least one more of these in my head that I'm hoping to do. And I hope they're helping you in some way. All right. I'm going to post this. I'm going to post some links. I love the discussion that we're having, particularly on Facebook. It's where most of the conversation tends to happen. So if you want to go check out my Facebook page and talk about this with me, I would love to hear from you. All right. Take care, everybody. And I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.